takes up a lot of the time, 5 to 10 minutes, and then 20 minutes for you to actually write the essay itself. So we know that the introduction is easy. There is one key thing that we need to make sure exists in an introduction, which is a thesis. You have to make sure that you take a side. You have to make sure that you state your explicit position in this first paragraph, that is the introduction. And then body paragraph 1, 2, and 3, you can think about it like the flesh of the body itself, right? That's where you pick the evidence and organize the evidence to back up your position. So it's very simple to organize this. Body paragraph 1 should be evidence 1, and then second piece of evidence, third piece of evidence with a little bit of a twist where you kind of moderate your position a little bit, or you kind of defend the opposing side a little bit before saying, however, the opposing side is still wrong because of blah, blah, blah. And then you conclude by doing a quick summary of your introduction, or rather rewording your introduction, but coming to the same point again. This is what you're asked to write, right? So when you read, you should always concentrate, I think, once you know your position on something, you should concentrate on finding those three pieces of evidence that you want to bring to defend your particular take on an issue, right? For instance, I could say, oh, I want to criticize the writer's assumptions in the argument essay in line 2, and then also in line 5. Oh, and that part where he uses the word whatever the word is quite interesting. So if I make a mental note in my head as to 1, 2, 3 pieces of evidence that I want to take apart from the passage that I'm given, then I kind of see the structure of my essay there. Pick 3 pieces of evidence, don't panic. 30 minutes is it's a good amount of time. You can get from, Jakarta Barat to Selatan in 30 minutes. A lot can be done. So next, I want to talk in particular, obviously, about the flash, right? Because as we see, intro, body paragraph, body paragraph, body paragraph. So the main bulk of your essay is going to be concentrated around the body paragraphs. What is the body paragraph, right? I think when Santika did an introduction earlier, there were many great body paragraphs in what she said. She would tell you some main point, like you should always work with a single advisor and stick to it. And then she goes on to elaborate. Why is that so? Because your advisor already knows your missions and your goals in terms of your study abroad, etc., right? So the body paragraph is very simple. It's where the subpoints of your overall thesis are elaborated upon. So in a body paragraph, you will start with what we call a topic statement. If you think about it, the essay is made up of paragraphs, and each paragraph is like a mini essay with its own mini thesis, right? So the topic statement tells you the main point of that paragraph. In Santika's case, it is always a good idea for you to work together with one single advisor that you stick to. That's the topic statement. And then there is evidence, right? A piece of evidence would follow. I would depart from the example of Santika here because we're talking about a passage. Again, here, for the purposes of talking about the body paragraph, let's just have in view the argument essay. If you don't already know, the argument essay is where you're given a short passage, like maybe 100 words, sometimes less, and that short passage is something that sounds quite dry. It can say something like Factory X had decided to move from plastic recycling to paper recycling due to XYZ factors. But in doing so, Factory X has gained much more profits in the last financial quarter than the one before, blah, blah, blah. That some kind of dry passage like that, and then you're supposed to take apart what's wrong with the assumptions in the passage. So I have in mind here the argument essay and not the issue essay. So once you have the topic statement, for instance, you might want to say, the writer's assumptions that profits have increased due to the change from paper from plastic to paper recycling is unfounded. For instance, the rise in profit could be due to a layoff or to changes in the operational procedures, blah, 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 etc. Right? So, but you have a piece of textual evidence that you started with, which is that textual evidence that you want to take apart, which is the assumption that the factory increased its profit by changing from this type of recycling to another type of recycling. This is a weird example, but you get my point. So the thing is that you have a thesis statement, which is for the paragraph's purpose called a topic statement, followed by something from the text. It has to be a concrete thing from the text. So it's not something that you're thinking about, but it's something where you go back to the passage and see what you underline and then you quote it, right? Now, there is a lot of work behind this, which is not something that we can cover in our short prep sessions, right? But knowing how to manipulate a piece of academic writing, manipulate it by quoting it, rephrasing it, attributing the piece of thought or an idea to a particular author and so on, that is a very useful skill and something that might be, but that might feel a little awkward to start with until you do a lot of academic writing. I would recommend, if you are preparing over a longer period of time instead of a shorter period of time, look into quotation integration skills, because it's always good to be able to quote something and do it in an elegant manner. Obviously, there are go-to phrases that we all use, like the author assumes, the author claims, the author states, the author argues, the author continues, or the author undermines, blah blah blah, the author something, the author followed by a verb, but there are other ways to do it. Okay, so once you have actually pointed to a piece of textual evidence that you want to take apart, and I'm sorry if you're bored, I'm fascinated by the paragraph, but it's probably a bit boring for you. Once you do that, okay, we are going to look at the chat. Morning, everyone. Once we have the piece of textual evidence, we are going to do what? We are going to imagine that that piece of textual evidence is like egg or like flour, like tepung, you know? It's like ingredient in cooking. And you are going to do things to that ingredient. The ingredient is the piece of evidence you want to take from the text, and you're going to do things to it. What are you going to do to it? If it's an egg, you're going to break the egg and you're going to kind of like stir the egg together with some milk before you make an omelette. If it's a piece of textual evidence, you're going to analyze it. You're going to analyze it, and then from that analysis, you are going to transition to your own point of view. So textual evidence. The author claims that the switch in recycling methods has contributed to the profits of company X, and then transition words like, however, we could also presume that there could be other factors which have been disregarded by the passage in terms of why company X gained more profit in year X versus year Y, etc. And then you're going to elaborate on your own point of view a little bit. You could add another sentence. When I say elaborate on your own point of view, I'm basically saying add one more sentence. So you could say something like, there could be other factors that contributed to the difference in profit. One more sentence could be something like, usually in a company's ability to gain more profit, things like the size of the workforce, the organizational structure, and things like that all contribute to profit at the end of the day, etc. I don't know. And then you zoom out or summarize or try to make a transition to the next paragraph, right? So a body paragraph is always this way. If you don't believe me, take a look at your 5 pounds GRE prep book, the Manhattan Prep or whatever else, and look at any reading comprehension passages that you find in the book, right? And isolate any paragraph and you will see the structure more or less. It's always the same. Topic statement, textual evidence, analysis of the textual evidence, transition word to your own point of view, a little bit of elaboration on your own point of view, and then you zoom out, recap, or transition to the next paragraph. Now, I have a question for you, and you're going to win not a real but an imaginary Janji Jiwa voucher, right? If you answer this, and I will let Santika pick the victim. The question is, if we are looking at this as a breakdown of the structure of a of a body paragraph, how many sentences are you thinking would go into making a good, strong, solid body paragraph? How many sentences according to this breakdown? Anyone? Santika is gonna pick the victim.
Anybody here? Are we still doing the left versus right wing today? Volunteers? This is
Are
very
they sitting
simple. Oh, there you go. Yes, we have a volunteer. Yeah, let's move a bit away from the victim mentality here. uh, she's my advisee. So just met her like yesterday. Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Christine. I'm Aulia again.
Aulia?
Yes. Okay.
Hi,
So,
Aulia.
yeah. Actually, I just took the GRE yesterday. And
What is
I
it?
guess 6 to 7 or 5 to 7, like that kind of range.
Okay, awesome. Aulia, you were here last week, right?
Yes.
Right, and you helped us answer some questions. I remember. Did the GRE go okay?
Quite okay, but I can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but at least it wasn't horrible, right?
Yeah,
Great,
it
great to know.
wasn't horrible, just quite okay.
Why are you here? You already took it.
Because I want to get the best score. I haven't reached the median of the school that I wanted to. So yeah.
Okay, you might retake it, etc., right?
Yeah.
Okay, are you sure it's not because you have a crush on someone else in the audience? In the Zoom
No,
chat?
no. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, all right, too bad. All right, thanks, Aulia. So 5 to 7. So, Santika, this question is very popular. We have a lot of guesses. Why is it? Is it because it's a concrete question that involves numbers? Like how many sentences
I think
would
so.
go into? Yeah,
I think
all
so.
right. Yeah, I think so too. I agree. I'm thinking around 5 or 6, right? One topic statement, another sentence is the textual evidence, another sentence is that analysis, another sentence is the transition to your own point of view, another sentence is elaboration of your own point of view, and then the transition sentence to the next paragraph. About 6, I would say. Thanks a lot, guys. Now let's look at an example, right? And now we have to pick a victim. Sorry, we are trying to move away from the victim mentality here, right? Anyway, Megan Tara is from the Zoom chat. Would you help us read? Do you think you could help us read the
All
passage
right.
on the left?
Unmuting Megan Tara. Hi, Megan
Okay.
Tara.
And
Hello.
Hi.
hi, Megan Tara. Is that really your name, or is your name actually Fauzal? What do we
No,
call
all people call me Megan, so it is my real name.
Megan? Okay. Terima kasih banyak. Thanks a lot, Megan. And while he's reading, you guys are gonna really concentrate and think about what purpose that sentence is serving according to our breakdown. Yeah. So if our breakdown has topic statement, textual evidence, analysis, blah blah blah, your own point of view, elaboration of your own point of view, what sentence is doing what? Okay, Megan, let's go. Hello, Megan. Oh no, we lost him. We had a volunteer. Hello? Hi, guys. Santika, can you
Yes,
hear me?
I can hear you. Is Megan? Do we lost Megan Tara?
Oh, it is.
Oh,
It
it
is
is muted.
muted.
Okay, let me try again. Oh, that's weird.
Right.
Okay, unmuted. Try
Thanks a
again.
lot.
There you
Yeah,
go.
thank you. In his book of in his book on globalization, Bob Howard claimed that globalization is a threat for a diversity of different nations and culture. Howard writes that when every place in the world becomes a replica of an American city, We can no longer learn from cultures truly different from our own. However, Howard's dismay might be exaggerated and inaccurate. For example, a city like Hong Kong is a good example of how the forces of globalization has created a hybrid culture, neither east nor west, but a combination of the two. Globalization might bring a level of hegemony to the world, but it would be a stretch to say that the influence only goes in one direction.
Thank you so much, Megan. All right. So this is our American Idol contestant, right? Imagine that for today, we have to imagine that we are on a TV show where we are judging people singing, except we are not judging people singing, but rather people writing, of course. So this is the first contestant, a piece of writing. What do you guys think? How many sentences do we see here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sentences, pretty long ones. 5, yeah, okay, 5 sentences. If we look again at the previous slide, right? And we say that this is what should happen ideally, that should be textual evidence, and then the textual evidence is like what? It's like ingredient, right? When you're cooking. When you're cooking, and this is something I learned really late in life, by the way, maybe I'm still learning it. When you're cooking, you actually transform things that you buy from the market or supermarket into a different thing. So like cucumber becomes something else, egg becomes something else, right? There is a transformation happening. You do something to the ingredient. So there's textual evidence, and then there is what you do to the textual evidence. My question is, how much do you think the writer is cooking with the textual evidence? Is there enough analysis of what is being quoted from the text, which is Bob Howard's text on globalization? Thoughts? Victim, Santika. Okay, I don't know why I keep thinking victim, but
No, that's
volunteer.
okay. I was just twisting that a bit so that we can have more fun. But anyone here wants to try to answer? Nope. I think the question is a bit too hard this time.
Right, the question was not clear. Where is the textual evidence in this passage? Where
Okay.
is the piece of textual evidence? That's an easy one.
Okay.
Risky Ikshan.
Textual evidence. It's not that hard, everybody.
Where's the textual evidence?
Can you repeat the name, Christine, of someone that
Yeah, it's Risky Ikshan.
Risky unmuting? Hi, Risky.
Hello,
wanna-
good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Hi, thank you for being our victim, quote unquote. So, where do you think is the textual evidence here?
Well, let me read it first. Well, I think the textual evidence is that city like Hong Kong, maybe it's a good example of how the forces of globalization.
That's
Is that
a great
right?
Risky, because I had a very specific idea of what counts as textual evidence. I meant evidence from the text that you are responding to. But you are absolutely right that actually the phrase could be taken to mean something else. So remember, I guess, I'm not sure if you were here previously, but any academic writing is a response to a set of writing, right? Academic writing is writing that responds to another piece of writing. So it's not writing that reflects on the sunflowers in the field. It's not writing that reflects on your love for your friend or whatever. It's not writing that reflects on the football match that's happening. It's writing that reflects on another piece of writing, all right? So that other piece of writing that you're responding to is a text, right? So textual evidence is anything that you quote from the piece of writing that you are responding to. So in this case, it would be the second sentence.
Yes, the second sentence, I think.
Yes, thank you, Risky. But do you think that he does enough with the second sentence? Imagine if that piece of textual evidence were an egg, right? If it were an egg, like a piece, an egg, yeah, telur. Apakah dia um cukup manipulasi telur ini? Like, does he do enough to the egg? You know, does he analyze the textual evidence and so on?
Yeah, I think in case of that, it's not enough textual evidence.
Right, or it's not enough analysis, correct?
Yeah, we have to bring another textual evidence in that case.
Right, okay. Thank you very much, Risky. Can I
Yeah,
push a little bit more, Risky, and ask you, like, do you think that there can be another sentence? Sorry, another sentence between the second sentence and the third sentence that could maybe elaborate a little more on the second sentence? Because the second sentence is the text, right? It's the textual evidence that the
yeah,
writer is quoting. Howard writes that when every place in the world becomes a replica of an American city, blah, 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 we can no longer blah. However, his dismay might be exaggerated and inaccurate. Is that enough? Is that analysis of the evidence?
I think the writer is not explain enough why Howard dismay is exaggerated and accurate. I
Oh,
think there's no reason why he state that.
perfect, perfect. So if
Yeah,
he had said something like, um, by writing that by seeing the world as just a replica of an American city, it is clear that Harvard views globalization as a force makes that erases diversity or something like that. However, his dismay might be exaggerated and inaccurate. That would be slightly better, correct? He would be doing something to the ache in that case, correct?
yeah. Yeah, I think he needs to elaborate on that.
Yes, I have a better example, Risky, than egg. I just thought of it, if I might share. It's like daun singkong. Kalau
Okay.
misalnya kita beli daun singkong, daun singkong is really something you cannot eat, okay? Raw, unless you cook it a lot. Do you agree?
Yeah, of course.
So, okay.
Have to cook
So,
it first.
yes. Jadi, the textual evidence is exactly like daun singkong. You cannot just like throw it there in the midst of your paragraph without doing things to it, like analyzing it, okay?
Yeah, I agree with that. So we have to explain it further.
Yes, correct. I don't know if you remember, but like when we were younger, I'm assuming, yeah, when we were much younger, sometimes in school we would cheat because we are too lazy to find our own words. So let's say that the teacher gives us an assignment like write a response to George Orwell's book or something, an essay on the politics and the English language, and then how would you write that essay? You would just quote and quote and quote, right? Orwell writes this, Orwell writes that, Orwell writes this, and then he writes that, and then he writes this, and that's your essay. But actually, you didn't have any of your own thinking in it. It was just a bunch of quotations. That's what we did when we were younger. I'm saying don't do that. Thank you so much, Risky. I think we
Yeah.
should have a YouTube podcast together. We can talk about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so if we look on the right side of this slide, certain things that we want to check for, right? Is the topic statement at the beginning of the paragraph? Is there a topic statement at the beginning of the paragraph? Is there a piece of textual evidence that's introduced into the paragraph? Okay, obviously you'll have a topic statement, and then a lot of people know to quote from the passage or from the text, so textual evidence is there. The third one is the trickier thing, right? Is the textual evidence analyzed? Apakah daun singkong itu sudah dimasak? Is there a good level of analysis overall? Does the paragraph keep the discussion of the topic statement, or does it veer off into a new topic? Like if the paragraph is about daun singkong, it should be about daun singkong. It shouldn't be about daun singkong and then suddenly about motorbikes or something like that. Okay, So that's a simple one. And then is there a conclusion that recaps the point or expands the paragraph's main point? A small one, I would say. The key thing here is analyze the textual evidence. So if you're at a loss and you're like, I don't know how to write 3 body paragraphs in 30 minutes or something like that, it's actually quite simple. Pick your 3 pieces of textual evidence that you want to take apart and then do this, and then you have the paragraph. Hopefully, it's that simple anyway. Okay, now, what is the argument essay? The argument essay, as we say, is the trial lawyer essay, right? Like you are imagining that you are a prosecutor. You know, the prosecutor is the guy who is trying to say that the defendant is guilty, and then the defendant's lawyer is the one defending the defendant, right? But the prosecutor would take something that the defendant says and then tears it apart completely. So the prosecutor is almost like a detective searching for what's wrong with someone's presentation of where they were on a certain night, etc. So the argument essay is about identifying the stated or unstated assumptions in the passage. The main keyword here is assumptions. There is a text. You are reading it closely. You are doing contextual analysis. You are using your analytical skills to find out what the assumptions in the passage is, and then you take it apart. Here is a very famous favorite example. I say this is a favorite example because I have done massive research, I think, into GRE topics prep writing online, and everybody, so many people use this particular argument essay topic. So you are entering tradition here, GRE tradition. And Santika, it's time for me to drink some coffee and for us to pick a victim to read this.
All right.
Offline?
So let's do in person.
Yeah.
Anybody want to do Christine and me a favor to read this out? It's just reading. Okay, we got one. There you go. Thank
Who
you.
is
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello, Santika and Christine. My name is Dea.
Hi, Dea.
Yeah, I will try to read the essay.
Okay, but when Dea is reading, though her voice is lovely, please also find the assumptions, okay? Because after Dea reads, the next victim is going to tell us 1 or 2 assumptions in the passage. All right, Dea, let's do it.
Okay. In surveys, Mason City residents rank water sports, swimming, boating, and fishing among their favorite recreational activities. The Mason River flowing through the city is rarely used for these pursuits. However, the city park department devotes little of its budget to maintaining riverside recreational facilities. For years, there have been complaints from residents about the quality of river's water and the river smell. In response, the state has recently announced plans to clean up Mason River. Use of the river for water sports is therefore sure to increase. The city government should, for that reason, devote more money in this year's budget to riverside recreational facilities. Write a response in which you examine the stated or unstated assumption of the argument. Be sure to explain how the argument depends on the assumptions and what the implications are if the assumptions prove unwarranted.
Great. So thank you so much, Dea. So that's the testimony from the defendant, right? Imagine if you are in the middle of a trial here and you're the prosecutor again. That's the testimony. Where are the assumptions? And we really need to free this up. So everyone, please just chime in, even if we don't pick a victim. Use the chat. Just speak out loud if you are in the auditorium. What assumptions do you see here? Anyone? First assumption, because we're building this essay in our head. Time is ticking. You only have about 5 minutes to put together a kind of structure in your head before you start writing, right?
Anyone here? Okay. We got one here. Thank
All right.
you.
Hi, Christine. I'm Daniela again.
Hi, Daniela.
I would like to pick the assumption here. First,
Yep.
first is the assumption that while the Mason River is cleaned up, the utilization
Mhm.
of the river will surely increase. That is the first assumption because we're not sure if the previous um, uh, sport doing like swimmer, boating, and fishing probably they are not 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 doing that sport again because of another disease, or maybe the water level is becoming lower, so it is not possible. So there is might be the possible things that causing they are not doing the sport again. So if it is uh, only simply by the government clean up the river, it
Yep.
is not causing they are might be the increasing level of utilization of that place again.
That's really great. Thank you so much, Daniela. That's great. Um, I agree with you. I think that's a very nice read here. So there's the assumption that the cleanup of the river will mean the increase of recreational water activities, and you're saying that that's an assumption that is unwarranted because there might be other reasons why these activities are not taking place at that river, correct? More or less, am I right in summarizing your argument? I think that was her argument.
Her
For
answer is yes.
instance,
Her
yeah,
answer is yes.
all right, great. Like for instance, a very simple one is fishing. Maybe that river has no fish, correct? So cleaning out the river doesn't mean that you would suddenly have fish in the river. Okay, very good. Another one I would say I would throw in there would be that the writer is mentioning residents complaining about the river's water quality and the river smell and saying, therefore, there are no recreational activities taking place by the river because um, they are talking about how it smells, but they could be talking about the river smell because it affects their daily life or quality of living if they live somewhere near the Mason River and not because they actually want to do sports there. For instance, anyone else for the third piece of evidence? The maybe we can have someone offline since we have had someone on, I mean, online because we've had someone offline. Perhaps we can ask Catherine Priscilla. Catherine Priscilla, if you are around and can unmute. Catherine?
All right. Okay, Catherine, I have unmuted you. Are you ready? Nope. Anyone
Okay, I
else?
think she dropped off. Carl Ludwig Hendierta?
Okay,
Carl?
let's see. Carl.
Oh, Catherine is back.
Carl. Back at you.
Carl,
Hi,
Yes.
Carl.
Yep.
is there?
Okay.
Yeah,
So me or Catherine?
you, I guess.
Okay.
Carl.
So pardon me. What was the question?
What is another stated or unstated assumption that we can analyze or take apart, deconstruct in this passage?
Actually, the first, yes, I'm agree with Daniela.
Yep.
After clean up, there would be increase in use of river water sport.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
there are some
other assumption, I think,
Yeah,
because mm, a little budget from the
yeah,
department
yeah.
in maintaining the oversight. Also, yeah, as you said earlier, it's the complaints.
Tell me more about the budget. Why is there an assumption there? Like, what can you say about the budget?
Yeah, because I believe we don't know about the budget allocations.
Right.
Maybe maybe there are some economic issues.
Very
I
good.
think the message is to very judgmental.
That's very good. As in, like, devotes little of its budget. You're saying you are zooming in on the phrase little of its budget, right? You are asking, we don't know why it's devoting little. Little in compared to what? How many percent is little, for instance? And is it little compared to what it spends on doing another thing, like putting up signs or something like that? Or is it, etc.? That's what
Or is it
that's what
all
you meant, right?
for infrastructure?
Yes. Yes, infrastructure. Is it for education? Is it about awareness for the part that they are spending more of their budget versus maintaining the riverside? But you're saying your main point here, Carl, is that something about the word little in the phrase the department devotes little of its budget to maintaining riverside recreational facilities. The little here sounds judgmental to you and also not informative enough, correct?
Yes.
I really like that read. I think that's very good. Um, Thanks very much, Carl. I agree. I agree. Another one that I would point to, I guess, is the first sentence where it says Mason City residents rank water sports among their favorite recreational activities. What does among mean here, right? Like because among how many other favorite activities? Maybe the residents are ranking 5 different types of sports, and one of the 5 types would be water sports. But then, would you say that that's a top priority if it's like one of 5 type of sports that they like? It's usually the key, a shortcut, a hack, if you would like, that anytime these passages mentions a survey, and they always do, okay, they don't always, but they often mention a survey, you can usually take apart that sentence where it's summarizing the survey. For instance, the passage could say something like, in a survey done among university students, it was found that most female graduates preferred to work in the social science sectors or something like that. That could be a typical sentence there. And then you would have to take apart the word most, or like the phrase most of, etc. Let's take a look now at some examples as to how people have responded to this. And because for the purpose of time, and because we have a live session here today where you get to use your phone, we will only look at the high scoring example. By the way, when you are applying to certain programs, like I guess certain programs in the usual competitive grad schools across the US, this score does matter. The analytical writing score can be the make or break among 2 candidates who have the same scores, right? 2 candidates perform equally well on verbal and quantitative, and then their writing score could be the deciding thing. So it's not an unimportant part of the GRE, and I would say that your expectations should be to get a 5 because the standards are super low. If I were to grade this, I would give the essay scoring a 4, more like a 2. So I'm saying the standards are quite low here, and you should aim not for a 4, but for a 5 or a 6 in the writing portion. So if I can drink a little more coffee and we can have someone read for a second, what is the example of a perfect scoring response to this passage? Will our victim be offline? Yes, we're gonna do offline, online, offline, online. So the next one is
Okay.
offline.
All right. So anybody here? I see you wanna raise your hand. So let's just pass along the microphone so that our team don't have to like walk around.
Yeah.
Hi. Huh? Oh, okay. So let's give her a minute, or if anyone else want to go first. And I have a quick announcement in the middle of all of this, right? So we had a little bit of a tech issue. On the website, you will see that the US study plan form is bit.do. Let's see. bit.do/GRE quick preparation. Now that one is the registration. Okay. So the correct one for the US study plan is, let me check. It should be bit.do as well, but only /AT America GRE. That's for the US study plan. Okay, so if you have difficulties, I know a few of you already talked with our team outside with the e-guides that you had difficulties submitting, that you cannot submit because you have submitted while you haven't. It's because it's a wrong form. Okay, just go to bit.do/AT America GRE for the US study plan. Okay, and watch out for the title of the form, of course. Like if you see the title is not US study plan, then that's not the one for the study plan. Okay, that's that. Hi.
Hi, thank you for the time. My name is Chacha again. And let me help you read the essay. Argument
Wait,
essay.
what's your name again?
Chacha. Chacha. Okay.
Chacha.
Chacha.
Okay, very good. And hello again, and I might interrupt you at any point.
Let me start. While it may be true that the Mason City government ought to devote more money to riverside recreational facilities, this author's argument does not make a cogent case for increased resources based on river use. It is easy to understand why city residents would want a cleaner river, but this argument is rife with holes and assumptions and thus not strong enough to lead to increased funding.
Okay, Chacha, I'm gonna pause. I'm going to interrupt you rather for a second. Is it okay?
Okay. It's okay.
Great. I just want to say again the obvious, but there is a formula here that you should memorize in your prep work for the argument essay. The formula is very obvious. It is summarizing the passage's take to disagree with it, right? So the phrase that you could memorize, for instance, maybe this is a bad idea to recommend, just memorizing certain phrases, but it can help, is while it may be true that, fill in the blank, comma, this author's argument, however, does not make a convincing case for XYZ. It is easy to understand why blah 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 blah, but the argument is full of holes and assumptions and thus not strong enough to fill in the blank. Like if we think about it, this is very formulaic, right? You can actually yourself copy and paste this paragraph, right? And then you cross out all the words which are specific to the text. So you cross out Mason City government, riverside recreational facilities, increased resources based on river use, city residents, clean a river, blah, blah, blah. But you keep the rest, and you will see that it works in every case. For instance, if I make up an imaginary text right now, I could say something like this. While it may be true that research facilities ought to devote more care to the ethical standards of animal testing, this author's argument does not make a convincing case for the implication of a new set of rules. It is easy to understand why ethics is a very important area of animal testing, but the writer's argument is rife with holes and assumptions and thus not strong enough for us to perform a complete overhaul of research testing in general or something like that. It works, right? You only need the, while it may be true that the blah blah blah, this author's argument isn't convincing, does not present a strong argument, and then another sentence that says it is easy to understand why XYZ XYZ, but again criticize the argument and thus not strong enough to do the recommended action that it recommends. Sorry, Chacha, this was a very long interruption. Let's read the rest of it. I will shut up. Yeah.
Let me continue.
Chacha.
Citing surveys of city residents, the author reports city residents' love or of water sports. It is not clear, however, the scope and validity of that survey. For example, the survey could have asked residents if they prefer using the river for water sports or would like to see a hydroelectric dam built, which may have swayed residents toward river sports. The sample may not have representative of city residents, asking only those residents who live upon the river. The survey may have been 10 pages long, with 2 questions dedicated to river sports. We just do not know unless the survey is fully representative, valid, and reliable. It cannot be used to effectively back the author's argument. I'm so sorry.
No, it's great. Please continue.
Additionally, the author implies that residents do not use the river for swimming, boating, and fishing despite their professed interest, because the water is polluted and smelly. While a polluted, smelly river would not likely cut down on river sports, a concrete connection between the residents' lack of river use and the river's current state is not effectively made. Though there have been complaints, we do not know if there have been numerous complaints from a wide range of people, or perhaps from one or two individuals who made numerous complaints. To strengthen his or her argument, the author would benefit from implementing a norm survey, asking a wide range of residents why they do not currently use the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Chacha. We're gonna stop at this point and give you a break, but thank you, well read. I would want to mention again that numbers is always a place where you can do something. The lack of numbers, you could say, doesn't give you enough context or enough comparative reasoning. If this is the number, what is the usual median that you can compare it to, etc. Or maybe there are no numbers at all, in which case, yeah, if there are no numbers at all, you can criticize it. If there are numbers, you can also criticize it. So if you find like, oh no, I have nothing to say about the passage, try to address it from 2 perspectives. Number 1 is, does it mention a survey? There are always assumptions behind a survey that you can take apart. And the second thing is, does it mention numbers? If it doesn't, you can bring up the fact that the lack of numbers doesn't present a cogent argument. If there are numbers, you can look at the numbers presented and see how the data is perhaps being manipulated by the writer and what you could say about that, and so on. So numbers and surveys, right? These are 2 points. We're not going to read the rest of it because I want to move on to the issue essay, but I would like to point out that the argument essay, as you have seen in this Core 6 example, is usually thinner than the issue essay, meaning that something like a 4 sentences paragraph, body paragraph, it suffices, okay? A 4 sentence body paragraph is good enough. If you look at these body paragraphs in this perfect scoring essay. They are not that wordy, right? They are about 4 sentences long, I think. And then this writer goes on to say, oh, by the way, this is also the five paragraph classical essay: intro, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and then the conclusion, right? And then just to have a quick look at what counts as a conclusion: a clean, beautiful, safe river often adds to a city's property values, leads to increased tourism and revenue from those who come to take advantage of the river, and a better overall quality of life for residents. For these reasons, city government may decide to invest in improving riverside recreational facilities. However, this author's argument is not likely significantly to persuade the city government to allocate increased funding. Okay, if we take a look at this is still a formula. It's saying it makes sense to do A. However, the writer's argument doesn't convince me about A. If in my imaginary text example, it would be ethics and regulations in animal testing will lead not just to a more moral scientific method, but also even to improve scientific research. However, this author's argument is not significant enough to persuade us of any changes or improvements in terms of research testing or something like that. That's the formula. So I'm recommending that you study the intro and the conclusion and see how formulaic they are. Try to familiarize yourself with these formulas, and then the body paragraphs we already talked about earlier. What happened? Okay, so again, if we are going to do a checklist, and this is going to come in useful because we will have an American Idol session in a second, we have to check if our essay would have body paragraphs that would contain clear topic statements. Do the body paragraphs manage to identify the passage's stated or unstated assumptions by engaging closely with the source text? This is the checklist for the argument essay, by the way. Are the body paragraphs well organized? Does each new point build upon the previous point? Is the argument nicely detailed instead of being too broad or general? I think whenever you work closely with the source text, your writing always ends up sounding very specific, which is good, rather than very general. Like if we look again at the, sorry, I don't know what happened with that slide. If we look at the example again, you see that the writer, let's say in this paragraph, the one before the conclusion, building upon the implication that residents do not use the river due to the quality of the river's water and the smell, the author suggests, blah, blah, blah. It's working very closely with the source text, and that's a good thing, okay? Now we move on to the more troublesome issue, which is the issue essay. That's the more troublesome issue. And the reason that this picture is here is because I think it's basically like that. As I said earlier, it's like you're at a cocktail party and people are talking about cryptocurrency, for instance, and you're supposed to spontaneously share your own opinion about cryptocurrency. So the issue essay is frustrating because sometimes the prompts are extremely cryptic. Like you need to read the one sentence that makes up the prompt very carefully to understand what the stakes of the conversation would be, and then you can build your essay. I'm going to repeat myself there because I think that's a point that might be worth noting. You have to read this one sentence, which is very mysterious, like, humanity will profit well from deductive reasoning, or something like that. It's not going to be that, but I'm just giving an example. Read that one sentence very, very, very well, and then see what the stakes would be, right? What the stakes would be, why is this topic important? Humanity will benefit from deductive reasoning. What's the other side of it? What's the alternative? Oh, so this is saying that the alternative is wrong and the statement is right. Why is that? What are some reasons why this statement could be right versus the alternative, and so on, right? So it's about no longer about being a detective with a piece of text that's given to you. Rather, it's calling you to present an intelligent and articulate point of view on a certain topic. Now, Here, the essays are also usually more dense and longer, while the essays which are responses to a passage in the argument essay are quite brief. These essays, the issue essays, tend to be significantly wordier. We will see. These are typical discussion points for an issue essay. If we look at it, I apologize, the screenshot is a bit blurry. These are some things that you could think about. Again, these are formulaic. You could think about benefits, right? I'm starting from the column on the left. If I start from the column on the left, we can think about benefit. We can think about standard of living. We can think about who are encouraged to do certain things based on the topic. We can think about the potential for unfair outcomes. We can think about how do we assess value. We can think about the subjectivity of values and so on. I don't like this slide though because it's very difficult to predict what the prompt is going to be. In this case, the prompt is that humanities people should earn less than science and economics people. Hot topic, by the way. Or humanities people should not earn less than science and economics people. But the reason that I screenshot is because here are some ways you could see what the issues would be around a certain topic, right? So my best recommendation is that there is a link at the end of the slide presentation with hundreds of issue topics and argument topics that have come up in previous GREs. Do a 5 minutes exercise where you look at 5 minutes exercise where you pick a random topic from the issue essay component, and then you just try to brainstorm both sides of the issue and which side you would choose. I think we need to do a lot of 5 minutes brainstorming, not write the actual essay even, but just brainstorm how you would address the topics. If we go to some tips here, I would like to stop blah blah blahing for a second and maybe ask someone in the Zoom chat to help me read these pointers. Perhaps we can ask Vineza Pancha.
So, Christine, we actually had a very good amount of volunteers in the Zoom. So we have Riska before.
Wow.
Yeah. So should we call Riska first and then the person that you just add
Yes.
just now? Okay. So let's go with Riska. Okay, unmuting Riska. And if you have any questions in the Zoom,
Hi, Riska.
please send it to everyone. Thank you. Sorry. Hi, Riska.
Hi, Santika and Christine.
Hi.
Okay, I will read the slide, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the tips for the GRE issue essay. First, write at least 3 practice essays. Second, choose a side. Don't follow. Choose very specific real world example, but make sure your example are relevant to the topic. Avoid first persons and self-reference. Make strong declarative statements. Review the opposing view in your conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Riska. So imagine that the topic is how ethics is the most important priority in research involving animals. Let's say that that's the topic, right? You have to choose a side. So it's very easy. Understand what the prompt is saying, right? You have to understand what the prompt is saying, and then you choose either to agree or disagree. Now, once you decide to agree or disagree, don't waffle. Waffle means like jangan pling plan. If you chose a side, you chose a side, right? Stick to it. Even though if when you start planning, you suddenly think, oh no, maybe actually ethics isn't that important for animal testing because animals are not humans. They don't feel pain the same way. Forget your doubts. Stick to the side that you chose, right? And if you are going to have some doubts, make those set of doubts kind of like a voice for the opposing view that you can account for nearing the end of your essay, but not in any way affecting the main body of your essay. Writing 3 practice essays would also be a good one, but my main point in talking about the GRE issue essay, I guess, would go back to this. Understand what the prompt is saying first, and take a look at maybe like 5 to 6 high-scoring issue essays to see what kind of interjections and what kind of discussions people have around a one-sentence prompt, right? So it'll give you a good idea as to what to mimic. Now, this is an essay prompt, but this is too easy. And before I go to this, I would actually like to jump ahead a few slides to. Oh yeah, and this is the point, right, with the issue essay. Never sound labai. Try to avoid statements like, "Oh, humanity will benefit. The universe will be a much better place. This is the absolute best solution. This is the most illuminating contribution to humanity. This is etc." Any labai statement, the reader of the GRE analytical writing portion would automatically be like, bleep, like that's not a good writer. So it's very important not to sound labai. The silly thing here is that one usually sounds labai when one is almost out of time. Okay, so I would like to do an exercise as a very quick one. So you have 6 minutes, which, okay, maybe 6 minutes, around 6 minutes, to write just the introduction and one body paragraph for an issue essay based on this prompt, okay? So the prompt is, the best ideas arise from a passionate interest in commonplace things. And then the prompt goes on to say, discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the statement above and explain your reasoning for the position that you take. In developing and supporting your position, meaning in your body paragraphs, you should consider ways in which the statement might or might not hold true and explain how those considerations help shape your opinion, right? So it's usually one sentence like this, and it's very mystical, right? You're like, what is it talking about? I don't understand. Well, stop right there. Understand the prompt, because if you don't understand the prompt, it's very difficult to proceed. So maybe before we open up the 6 minutes where you type on your phone and then contribute what you've done, see, it's exactly like, a reality TV show. Before we do that, let's try to understand the prompt a little bit. Do we have more volunteers, Santika? Can someone tell me a story as to what this prompt is saying?
Okay, anybody here? A guess? What is this prompt about, right, Christine?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. You just need to guess.
Yeah, paraphrase.
Anybody? Someone in the Zoom, maybe? Should we pick someone, Christine?
We should totally pick someone.
Okay.
And that someone shall be Wan Bagamawi Muhammad Razak.
Okay.
Wan
Hi, Wan. We have been chatting, so he's here. Unmuting
Yay.
Wan. Hi, Wan. Hello. Nope. Oh, I guess he's yeah. Never mind.
Oh, no.
Let's move to Shafa, maybe?
Yep.
Shafa.
Shafa.
Hi, Shafa. Right, no response as well. So I guess I will have to do in-person audience again. Anybody
Okay.
want to guess? Or you want to just give the answer away, Christine?
Oh no, I
Like,
actually
there's
need
another option.
maybe Zakiatul, because Zakiatul just asked a question. So
Okay.
I'll make a deal with you, Zakiatul. I will answer your question if you answer mine.
I was about to suggest that, but I'm like, maybe not a good idea. But you read my mind. So I'm going to unmute Zakiatul. So she's actually my good advisee. She have been with me for quite some time. So her nickname is actually Kia. Hi, Kia.
Kia.
Hi, Kasandika. It's me
Hello.
again. Hi, Kak Kristen.
Hi, Kia.
Okay.
Oh yeah, before I answer your question, can I ask you to tell me what you understand from this prompt that says the best ideas arise from a passionate interest in commonplace things?
Oh, all right. I will try my best to explain about my comprehension about this prompt. So, what I get from the best idea arise from a passionate interest in commonplace things is uh, the pros is maybe the commonplace things is easy to find. Then the passionate interest is also makes it easier to find. And about the best idea. So we have to make a pro and cons list, right, in this task.
You have to understand what it's saying first. So all I'm asking is for you to paraphrase this prompt. The best ideas arise from a passionate interest in commonplace things. Yeah, I'm not sure if you were here before, but I think you were in previous sessions, if
Yeah.
I'm not wrong. And if you were, do you remember our exercise about breaking down a very long and convoluted sentence into a simple one by locating the grammatical subject of the sentence?
Yeah, I quite remember that. Um,
So let's simplify this sentence even more. Can we try to do that?
okay,
Right?
I will try.
Okay.
So the best idea uh, can come from uh, a passionate interest in commonplace things, which is the things that we are um, commonly found in everyday life.
Great.
So maybe it is like we got an epiphany from everyday conversation with our friend.
Perfect. That's such a good paraphrase, Kia. So um another way to paraphrase this prompt would be epiphanies frequently are frequently inspired by regular everyday things, correct?
Yeah, you said it better. Yeah.
I think I'm actually quoting you directly. So if we feel like we don't understand this, what we want to do is try to take away the adjectives for a second, right? So we don't want to think about best. We don't want to think about passionate. We don't want it to think
Yeah.
about commonplace. So then if we break down the sentence, it only becomes ideas arise from an interest in things. Ideas arise from an interest in things. Paraphrase that word. Ideas come from an interest in things. Oh, ideas come from an interest in things. What kind of ideas? Best ideas come from passionate interest in, not grand things, but everyday things. Like I was just taking a walk and I saw daun singkong in the market, and suddenly I was inspired to use daun singkong as a metaphor for
Analogy.
technical evidence.
Oh
What?
yeah. Yeah,
For
that's a good analogy. I heard about that Down syndrome previously.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be an example of an idea that arises from an interest in commonplace things, right? Now, have we done a little bit more Kia with the prompt? Then we know what is the next thing to do. How do I write my essay, right? I can either agree and say yes, epiphanies come from regular life, regular everyday life, or I can say no, I don't agree. I think that epiphanies usually come from things which are much more special and um, much more rarefied than just everyday life. So, which one would you, once you know what the prompt is saying, you break down the two possible positions and then you choose one, and then try to build an essay with some, I don't know, proposals and evidence as to why you choose the position that you choose. Here, I don't know if I'm indirectly answering your question because you say, how can I build and evaluate my passages if I get to write about the topic that I'm not familiar with? Um, that's a great question, by the way, Kia. I think my quick answer is that they never ever give you in the issue essay a topic that you're truly, truly unfamiliar with. Obviously, if you're a type A personality and you want to be over prepared, then you will go and read up on certain familiar issues that come up in the issue essay. It's often about technology, it's often about innovation, it's often about it's often about it's often about more philosophical things like whether passion is more important than I don't know than discipline, let's say. So take a look at what are the regular issues that or topics or prompts that come up in the issue essay, and then see if you can educate yourself to say, okay, if this topic is about government intervention, I'm going to say ABC. If this topic is about scientific innovation, I'm going to say ABC. If this topic is about global warming, I'm going to say ABC. If this topic is about whether economics is a more solid foundation of study than philosophy, I'm going to say ABC. So one way we can do this is to predict the sort of issues that come up as prompts by taking a look at the previous list of issue essay prompts. But I wanted to answer Kia. I'm very sorry that was very long-winded. Kia, I think they would never give you a prompt that you truly cannot elaborate on. So usually people trip up meaning like they get lost, they get confused because they misread the prompt. If you do not misread the prompt and you have the discipline to break it down into a simple sentence that you understand, then you should be able to find what the opposite opinion is and then write your paragraph accordingly by going back to our earlier discussion about the components of a paragraph, right? Which is, okay, decide what you're going to say in this paragraph. Okay, can you give a specific example if there is no text? Meaning in the issue essay, you're not responding to a text, right? It's not academic writing in the usual sense because it's just asking for your opinion without referring to Bob Howard's opinion. That's fine. Decide what you're going to say in your body paragraph. Instead of textual evidence, use one particular example, and they recommend real life example, and then go on to elaborate on that real life example and so on, right? Go on to elaborate on that real life example, elaborate a little more, try to transition to the next paragraph, but the formula for the component of a paragraph should work. So, sorry, very long-winded. It's 12:41. We have about 19 minutes. Can we try and do this exercise? Just one paragraph, guys, reflecting more or less the components of the body paragraph after understanding what the prompt is asking, and then we have a volunteer. How many minutes should we give for this, Santika? 3, 4, 5 minutes?
Yeah, we can have 5 minutes. We still have 15 minutes left.
Okay, because we need to review it together after. Okay.
Yes.
5 minutes
Perfect.
and okay.
5 minutes
The
from
winner
now.
will, from now, use your phone.
Okay.
Type it in notes.
All right, 5 minutes
guys,
from. Sorry, what, Christine?
Yeah, and we'll stop at 12:47. Yeah.
Okay. I'm using
Excellent.
my timer too, so I'll let you know.
Okay, that's exciting.
Okay.
Especially people on Zoom. On Zoom, just because you're on Zoom doesn't mean you don't have to write.
Yeah, they just need to type. I think, you know, if you type in your phone or like in the Zoom, if you're using laptop or your computer and joining through the Zoom or any other platform online, I think it's more close to the real test, right, Christine? Because you will be typing, right? So
Yeah,
that's
and
better.
Yeah, exactly. And you can even direct message me in the Zoom chat with your paragraph if you don't want to show it to everyone but want to share it.
Oh, you will get a lot of those.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay, that's cool. And I wonder, I think because, like our audience in person here, they're using their phone, right? So sometimes I think we type faster with the phone comparing to like typing on like a keyboard. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
probably
absolutely.
very nice help.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do type faster on the phone. I agree.
Mm-hmm. 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes left.
I just sent you a secret message on WhatsApp, Santika. Don't share it with others.
Okay.
We're distracting them now with the secret.
All right.
Oh,
Gotcha, Christine.
all right, BRB. Yes, we have 30 seconds, right?
Hi, Christine. We have
Hello.
1 minute left.
1 minute left.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, 30 seconds. All right, time's up. Christine?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yes.
Time's up, right?
Time's up.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody wanna do you receive any of the private answers?
No, nobody
No?
chatted me. They don't like me.
Okay.
Because there were only 3 sessions, Santika. It's not enough for them to form a strong bond. As the secret writing.
And the whole idea of
So-
having this practice is for you to kind of like, see if you have a strong enough statement or not. So sending it to us, to Christine and me, actually is a good idea, like so that you know where you can improve and everything. And I like to see this like similar to the essay review, Christine, because they bring in their draft instead of like, their finished, polished version. So
Right. I see. Yeah, exactly. So every piece of writing is a draft. I think more so, I wanted to test writing under time pressure. I think it's quite reasonable to have 5 minutes, a little fast, but also kind of reasonable. And then can we have a volunteer to share
Mhm.
something?
yes. So I
So
see
just
all of you are so busy typing, right? And writing. So I want someone here. Anybody want to share? It's fine. It's draft. No right, no wrong. This is practice. Yes, I got one. Yay. You have been looking at me like telepathy, like I want to talk,
Yeah, okay.
Hi.
Okay, my name is Fitri.
hello,
Hello, my name is
Three.
hello,
Fitri.
Fitri.
Okay, I'm trying to write. The best ideas can be arise from our commonplace things. The epiphany came up in a sudden. When we're thinking about something that we need in our daily life, maybe we can find the ideas because we need to solve the problem. For example, a telephone that invented by Alexander Graham Bell. The idea came up from our need about easier communication. That is why I agree with the statement. Okay.
Okay. Is that? Thank you so much for sharing. Is that the body paragraph or the introduction?
It's introduction.
Please use your
Oh, sorry.
microphone.
It's the introduction.
The
It's the
introduction.
introduction. Okay, I think it works. So you are saying that you agree with the statement, right?
Yes, I agree with the statement.
Great. Do you then go on to the first body paragraph?
Uh,
Do you want to read?
Not yet. Not yet
Not
done.
finished.
Not that yet done with the second paragraph.
Maybe
Okay.
anybody else. Do you
I
want?
did get a private message, and of
Uh-huh.
course I will not respect privacy here, Santika, and ask the person to read out. But first, to our first volunteer, thank you so much for reading that introduction. Can I ask, once you wrote that introduction and took a position, was it easier to do the rest of the planning in your head, even if not to write the actual thing?
Yeah, I think when I already find the topic and the reason I agree with the statement, I think it will be easier to make the second paragraph because
Correct.
in my assumption, the second paragraph is the elaboration about the introduction.
Yes, very good, very good. Thank you so much for that. So I agree. I think the most important point, again, going back to my main thesis here, right, about the issue essay, is to understand the prompt, really understand what the prompt is saying, break it down into a simpler sentence, and then understand that once you know what the topic is about, you basically choose a side. You think about the opposite side, you think about what it's saying, and you choose a side, and the rest will come easily. So, if I can have from the online audience, Zakiatul, Anissa, Kia again. To Kia, do you mind sharing? I guess this is an intro and a body paragraph.
So I
Hi,
am.
Kak Christy.
There you go.
Thank
What?
Santika. It is an introduction. I forgot to mention that I disagree with the prompt.
Aha, okay. So it's an introduction. It's not an intro and a body paragraph.
I think yeah, it is an intro, but it's only for the first two sentences.
Okay, let's have a look in any case.
I think, yeah, the structure is not really good, I think. So should I send the my writing to the group chat?
Yeah, you can. Maybe if you don't mind sharing it to the group chat and then reading it at the same time, that would be awesome.
So
Okay, I
Kia,
will.
I think your writing is fine. I've read your essay. Come on.
Okay, okay.
Share it to everyone and read it for me, okay?
All right.
All right.
Okay, I will start to write. So first thing first, I don't disagree with the prompts. Well, an epiphany can come from our mundane routine, everyday conversation with friends with whom we share the same interests. But is it one of the best epiphanies? When it comes to a simple life lesson about life, maybe commonplace is enough. But what if the best idea required some actionable plan? I think a conversation about a shared interest in everyday life conversation, it is not enough. For instance, climate activists need to intentionally gather on COP27 to design an actionable plan to realize the best idea to tackle climate change. Uh, so I think the best ideas from a passionate interest in commonplace things um, is not yeah, the conversation about this in commonplace things is not enough.
Okay, I think you cut off there, right? Correct? Kia, you didn't
Yeah.
finish the paragraph. If thank you so much, both volunteers. I will give you a round of applause because they're too shy. Thank you. That meant a lot to me.
Yay.
To have
Thanks for
your
For the
writing.
opportunity.
thank
you.
you. Thanks,
But
Kia.
I would, in Kia's case, like reading it, it seems to me not so much an introduction, but an intro and a first body paragraph that was not yet finished. But I think it's from what I see, if I take this, when it comes to a simple life lesson about life, maybe commonplaces is enough. What if the best idea required some actionable plan? However, I would say that that's more like a body paragraph, and I think you do a few nice things here, even though it's not finished yet because you had like 5 minutes. You do have something that resembles a thesis statement. I think you also elaborate on your thesis statement a little bit because you say, yeah, commonplace things are good enough for like simple purposes. And then you go on to elaborate. But what if what you wanted here is not a simple purpose, but an actionable plan? And then you go on to give a specific real life example. For instance, a magic phrase, guys. For example, for instance, yeah, that's a magic phrase, really. Then you go on to give a real life example. Climate activists, blah blah blah, need to do whatever it is to design, etc. So it's unfinished, but we do see some building blocks of a body paragraph, right, guys?
Yes.
Agree?
Agree.
Even though that's hanging.
Mhm.
Yes, great. So thank you for sharing that very much. I want to take a quick look at the example or essay here, right? So I'm just going to read it to save time. The advent of Big Bang cosmology, which occurred in rudimentary form almost immediately upon Edwin Hubble's first observations at the Hooker telescope in California during the early 20th century, was the most significant advance in mankind's understanding of the universe in over 400 years. So it seems like this writer agrees that epiphanies come from commonplace things. The seemingly simple fact that everything in the universe on the very large scale is moving away from everything else, in fact, betrays nearly all of our scientific knowledge of the origins and mechanics of the universe. This slight, one might even say commonplace distortion of tint on a handful of photographic plates, carried with it the greatest challenge to man's general, often religiously reinforced conception of the nature of the world to an extent not seen since the days of Galileo, not even Charles Darwin's theory, though blah blah blah. Yet it is not significant. I'm skipping over, sorry, but very long paragraph to read. We note certain things as to why this paragraph is 6, right? You will see that the sentence structures are quite varied and complex, correct? It's not starting every sentence with the exact same construction like, it is seen, it is argued, it is good, it is bad, etc. It's not like this. It's not repetitive. It has a lot of variations, I think. The second thing is that it's incredibly detailed. That's why I say the issue essay kind of sucks. It's almost like a general knowledge quiz. Erase my statement that it doesn't suck. It's really fun and it gives you more room to give your real opinion versus just responding to a text. So this one also has a very specific example. And then if we take a closer look at this paragraph later, when we are having lunch at kitchenette perhaps or whatever, when we are taking a look at this, we will see that it actually fulfills the components of a body paragraph. Obviously, the components of a body paragraph that I gave earlier was more suitable when you are responding to another text. i.e. the conventional academic writing exercise. But even if you're not responding to a piece of text, you can still use it as a gauge, I think, as to what you need in a body paragraph, which is always take a position, topic statement, and then a concrete example, elaboration on that concrete example, some kind of transition towards the next paragraph. You'll see that they do all this.
Right.
So we have a hard stop today. So I just want to say, I hope you see that you do see that the skills carry over from the verbal part to the writing part. And here are some checklists, a couple of resources. There are so many, so you can learn a lot from online. And I just want to repeat again, please, I hope we learn what the conventions of academic writing are, and that helps us both to read and to write in a non-labai manner, and to read better, to read closely, as well as rely on context when answering GRE verbal questions. Thanks so much, guys. I've had fun with you.
Thank
I
you.
hope Janji was.
Thanks, Christine. Please give her a round of applause. And everybody, I know that the last screen, the last slide that Christine was reading is not shown here, because of course we want to see you in the last minute. So you can access all of the presentation that Christine was sharing today and in the last previous sessions, and all of the Ibu Mel's handout as well. In that QR code there, everything's uploaded there, also on the website. And if you're in Zoom, I will repeat it again in the Google Drive, the same one as the QR code. So just go there and see what Christine was talking about and finish the presentation. If you have more questions, you can email jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. For specific questions, I can pass it to Christine or Ibu Mel. Okay? That's all. Thank you, everybody. See you in our next at America event. I'm giving it back to Ariel. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Kak Santika, and also thank you, Kristen, for today's session. And I would also like to thank everyone for coming today for today's session, our last session. And before I end today's event, earlier I asked a question of the day, which was, how long can you use your GRE score before it expires? And the answer is A, 5 years. Congratulations to Rizka Sarofa from Instagram for answering correctly. And now, before I end today's event, if you have not, I would like to invite you to follow us on our social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at ATAmerica, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter as well. And with that, I would like to close today's event. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Again, with me, Andrea Ariel, and see you at the next At America event. Thank you.